Well, 6 quarterfinal slots have been filled. 2 more remain. This is the final day of round of 16 action in the 2023-24 UEFA Champions League. Arsenal yesterday turned it around and they got through by the skin of their teeth to beat Porto on penalties, winning the second leg by a goal to nil. They tied it up on aggregate before David Raya made 2 big saves in the shootout to clinch the win for the Gunners in London. And Barcelona, we saw a hint of what they were and what they can still be as they tore open Napoli in what may very well have been the most entertaining Champions League game this season. 3-1 on the night in favour of the Catalan Giants, 4-2 on aggregate. And they have joined Paris Saint-Germain, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid and the defending champions Manchester City. Now the question is, who will join them today? Atletico Madrid versus Inter Milan is one duel we're looking ahead to at the top of the hour. You can watch that match on the SportsMax app. Inter with a 1-0 advantage from the first leg. While on SportsMax 2, we will have Borussia Dortmund against PSV Eindhoven with that tie locked at 1 apiece. Thanks so much for joining us in our studio in Kingston, Jamaica. My name is Donald. A lot of our members of the A-team are here. Well, some of them are here. Eric Rademacher, of course, is in studio with me. He's the founder of the Kingston Football Academy. Also in studio, Mariah Ramarak, the elegant Mariah. She'll have all the facts and nuggets for us during the show. And on Zoom, well, on Zoom, a man who really needs no introduction. Trinidad and Tobago's legendary defender who went to the 2006 World Cup in Germany with the Soca Warriors. A man who invested his time for his country in the political sphere in 2015 when he became the Minister of Sports. The holder of a Chaconia Medal, the second highest state decoration of the Twin Island Republic. And the man who celebrates his ... birthday today. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and persons who don't wish to be defined, Mr. Brent Sancho. Guys, Janelle, roll tape.
Happy birthday, Brent. Wishing you all the best from the ladies here at SportsMax. Enjoy your day, please.
Brent, all the best. Happy birthday, my brother. All the best. All the best.
Happy birthday, Brent. Hope you have a good one, brother.
Happy birthday.
Pop, pop.
Hey, happy birthday, my Brent, boy. Happy birthday. Who's birthday? I think it's like 65. 65? Yeah, my knees older than you. Yeah, and when I caps, we got that one. But you know, friends, all the time. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. God blessings. Well done.
Hey, what's up, James Saunders? Brentos. You know, usually I'm like crouch and pulling your hair out every commentary day. But today, you know, just want to stop and take a moment to wish you happy birthday. You've been an inspiration. You've been a top model professional. Yeah, man, we love you, man. What's up?
Brent Sancho, we celebrate you, all of us here at the Home of Champions, and we know, you know that we appreciate you and that we love you, and I'm actually really humbled with the fact that you're spending the day with us today. But tell me, are you feeling a lot older today?
Kind of, yeah. I played some football last night, and I do. And I want to blame it on that, not necessarily my birthday today, but I think the football last night has me a bit achy this morning. But no, I feel every bit of 35. Donald, thanks for the ... And,
35? The old age is catching up with the memory, apparently. But continue, Brent.
No, it's been a great day, and I really appreciate all the birthday salute and salutations I've gotten. It's been, overwhelming, and I'm really, really happy about it. And I'm happy to spend my birthday here with you guys, and of course, for the Champions League game to come.
All right, Brent, so let me just start off with you based on what took place yesterday. Arsenal, of course, going through, Barcelona going through as well. Was that what you expected, especially the performances from both teams in the second leg?
No, I did say that I thought Barcelona and Arsenal, they obviously lack that ingredient to continuously go on in the tournament. The game, particularly for Barcelona, was probably the best we've seen them play for quite some time. And of course, we talk about a team that's really lacked consistency. And the question is, can they do it again? From an Arsenal perspective, it did show some chinks in the armor that we talked about and we expected, because they still missed that ingredient. But I think all in all, with both teams progressing, it's not a huge surprise. I think as the tournament goes on and they meet teams of higher quality than to the teams that they eliminated, I think that's where probably both teams may come unstuck.
Eric, chime in here. What are your thoughts about what took place yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, happy birthday, Brent. All the best. You know, 35 is a big number. No, but
this is embarrassing.
Yesterday, I think we saw what we saw in the previous match is the favorite that eventually advances. So I think almost every year we see some surprises up until at least the quarterfinals, maybe even in the semifinals. And it looks like this year we're going to have a lot of the favorites advancing into the quarterfinals already, with Arsenal and Barca confirming that yesterday. Yeah,
Arsenal reaching the Champions League final 8 for the first time since 2010, almost at 2020. Barcelona, it's the first time in 4 years that they've been one of the top 8 teams in Europe. So really happy for both teams to reach the stage. Now, the Metropolitano awaits for this big match, Atletico Madrid versus Inter Milan. Yeah, Inter were dominant in all areas of that first leg, but the score was close. Let's take a recap of what took place in the first leg.
Hello, everyone. Ready to go? The business end of the Champions League season starts this evening.
Pretty much protocol, nearly done with. And before kick-off, we will have a minute's silence after the passing of Andres Bremer. Fondly remembered. Away here now with Mkhitaryan, DeMarco. It's a dangerous ball in, Arnautovic!
Sweeping move from Inter.
Here's Arnautovic, gets it back from Martinez. Can he finish? No, he can't. Now here's Lautaro Martinez. Is this the chance that he's been waiting for? De Berry blocked, comes out to Arnautovic. Must be, it is! Valiant effort to keep it out. Well, they were booing in moments ago. Now it's all about the cheers for Marco Arnautovic.
I had 2 chances. I was thinking that it's going again wrong for me. But luckily the third one went in, and I'm so happy.
The first leg to me was a little bit interesting, right, Erica? And I want your thoughts on this, because Atletico had 7 shots in total, none of them, though, on target. Who do you think got the... I know the scoreline obviously speaks for itself, but in terms of who would be happier heading into the second leg in Spain with that scoreline, who would it be?
I mean, looking at Atletico, that they got away with only a 1-0 loss, there might be some joy on that. But I think overall you're going to have Inzaghi with Inter that's going to look at the match and realize we played our game, we were able to create chances, but we need to be more clinical. But they got the win, they got the better of the game. I think even the game plan that they have created chances that they can put into this match as well, into their preparation. So I think Inter is definitely the happier team coming out of that first leg.
Brent, you agree?
Yeah, I would say so. Obviously, as discussed, Inter may look at it and think they probably could have left with, of course, a bigger goal margin. But that being said, still moving away as winners in a game that they really and truly dominated for most parts of it. They would take that confidence going into the second round, and I think Atletico would look at it and obviously and think to themselves that there's a lot of work to be done still. So yeah, Inter would be the happier of the two.
I guess if you look at one aspect of their game, at the back, Jan Oblak was pretty much outstanding in goal, had to be pretty strong, made a few saves as well. How do you rank him as one of the best goalies in the world?
I mean, I think he's been a part of that conversation, I think, for a good amount of years. But it's hard to say with Atletico, who is not really competing for the major prizes over the last few years, that he is the best in the world. You're going to look at like a Courtois, for example. You're competing for Champions League every year. You're winning Champions League.
But at face value, he's part of a defensive unit that's...
Understood. And I think Francesco Totti is a great example. To me, one of the best players, best midfielders from his generation, but he only did it at AS Roma. And a lot of times when you talk about the Zidane, you talk about those kind of players, he's not in the conversation, because I feel if you want to be considered the best in the world, you have to be at least competing for the best prizes in the world. And I don't think Oblak has been doing that.
Well, that's unfortunate for him. But Brent, how do you weigh in on the issue in terms of Oblak? Of course, he's in an era with the likes of Neuer and company. So where do you rate him?
I rate him quite highly, actually. I look at him as a goalkeeper whose name comes up every single time one of the massive clubs are looking for a goalkeeper, or looking for that situation to be looked at, is because of what he's been able to do, and his body of work has been solid. You know, a good shot stopper, a good reader of the game, maybe a little bit better with his feet, but all in all, it's been tremendous. And he's been having an axe to do a lot more of recent, because Atletico Madrid defense, for some strange reason, has gone missing. But that being said, you know, Oblak is up there for me as one of the better goalkeepers in world football right now.
But Brent, that's a little bit interesting, because I figured that the reason why they've gone a little bit missing is because that they've been a little bit more adventurous this season. Don't you agree?
I wouldn't say necessarily adventurous. I think they've tried to play on the front foot more than they normally do. But that being said, I think when you look at some of it's more individual mistakes. If you look at some of the goals they've given away, and some of the situations, that's not what we've known for Diego Simeone team. That's not what we're used to from them, and that's, I think, it's the challenge. Yes, you can be a bit more adventurous and still have your defensive solidity, but what we've seen from them is the individual error, something that you're not used to seeing from an Atletico team.
So Eric, where are they going to get the 2 goals from? That's my question.
Well, I mean, as Brent's saying, look, they're known for a disciplined team, disciplined coach, and we have not seen that as much this year. Individual mistakes, but leaving gaps, a lot of spaces. But what we have seen for a period, you had Griezmann and Morata as maybe the best striking duo at some point during the season. But, you know, Griezmann injured, and they kind of lose that momentum. Depay on and off. But I'd definitely say if Griezmann, Morata and Depay turn it on, you can be very potent up front with a lot of nice football. But is that enough if behind you it's not organized and mistakes are being made? I think that has been their struggle this season.
All right, well, it's now time to join Mara Ramhara. The elegant Mara is with us in studio, and I'm sure she has a few interesting facts that probably Erica or myself or Brent didn't really see. So, Mara, over to you. What's happening in terms of the facts section here?
All right, well, the first interesting aspect about this matchup is this will be Atletico's first home game against Inter in any competition. Their goal scoring has been an issue since beating Liverpool 3-2 in March 2020. Atletico have only scored 3 goals in 8 matches in the Champions League knockout stages, failing to net in their last 3. Now, what do the numbers say about Inter? Inter have a poor record in Champions League games in Spain. They are winless in their last 10 away matches against Spanish sides in the competition, drawing 3 and losing 7 since beating Valencia 5-1 in October 2004. Inter's last trip to Spain came in their opening game of this season's group stage with a late Martinez strike, earning them a 1-1 draw with Real Sociedad. So Inter not good in Spain. The question now, Donald, the time that you don't like, can Inter overcome their issues in Spain, or will Atletico Madrid fix their goal-scoring problems and take this one?
You know what's interesting about this, Mara, is the fact that I think that Inter are one of the favorites of the competition this season. I think they can go to the final, but it's a caveat today that we're talking about, right, in terms of facing Spanish opposition. Will they be strong enough? Based on the fact that I have them going to the final, yeah, sure, why not?
So Inter.
So yeah, I actually think Inter, they should get the better of Atletico Madrid, but you know, my thoughts don't matter in the scheme of things, really.
Of course it matters.
Okay, a little bit, but I'm gonna talk with Eric about that. And what are your thoughts in terms of Inter Milan and how what have they done so far this season, despite the fact that they have a big barrier ahead of them today?
I mean, you make some sense.
Some
sense.
A little bit.
I think, I mean, Inter actually really like what I've seen for them this season. I mean, even last season they made it to the Champions League final. This season, I think
against the odds too, eh?
Against the odds last season, but they confirmed this season within their league with a huge lead they have already. And in the Champions League, how they've been playing, even in the first, like how dominant they were. So a lot of good things what Inzaghi is doing. And it's interesting if you break them down. There's a lot of movement going on during the Inter matches. We see a lot of times Çalhanoğlu, who's crucial in that game with Barella, finding in deeper positions and really becoming the playmaker and trying to get that ball in behind the spaces. And the centre-backs sometimes end up in the midfield because we know of the midfielders dropping back in that centre-back role to be that playmaker. And it moves in a good motion. They know what's expected from each other with the wing-backs, DiMarco, Dumfries, up and down in transition, very important. And it's a well-oiled machine, what we see this far this season from Inter.
Brent, based on the eye test, they looked a couple of streets ahead of Atletico Madrid. In the first leg, they had 19 shots, 5 of which were on target. So based on that dynamic, based on the fact that they're last year's finalists, although they are facing a mountain in Atletico Madrid, away to Atletico Madrid, they have quite a few things going for them.
Yeah, and one of that is their strike partnership. I think it's really been one of the catalysts for their success. And I'm talking about Thuram and Lautaro Martinez. I agree with everything that Eric has said tactically about the team. But when you have now, a strike partnership that is giving you that edge goal-wise and putting the ball in the back of the net, because that's one of the arguments last season, and particularly in the finals last season, from an Inter Milan perspective, that they just don't score enough goals. But now you have two players that, creating chances and have formed a terrific partnership. So, yeah, I do fancy them. I do think they're a team that could run deep in this competition. And I do think they're a team that many of the so-called favourites don't want to face.
Yeah, and you think they're better than they were last year, Brent?
I think so. I think especially with the as I mentioned, the partnership up front. I think that's something that they didn't have. I think they had the stability. I think the energy levels were always good. The quality was there within the squad and the players that they have. But I think they just lacked that final product. And I think now you can argue that they do have that final product. And I think that's the difference.
What are your thoughts? You think they're better than last year?
Yeah, I think they're slightly better. As Brent's saying up front, they have been a little bit more clinical than last year. Plus, they've gotten more used to the roles. And I think they added that little innovative touch with Inzaghi, with how to really maximize their players to their strengths. And especially talking about the DiMarco and the Dumfries, who have that running athleticism with them, and it's really a big part of their game. So yeah, excited to see what Inter is doing, and also interesting to see certain players like Mkhitaryan, players like Arnautovic, who really at some point were not seen as players that could even be in a world-class team on the bench.
Yeah.
Who are now important players coming on, even starting, and so it's interesting to see what they've been doing there at Inter.
Yeah, team dynamic, that's what's important. It's time for predictions now. I'm going to save Brent for last because, it's his birthday and I'm going to give him some leeway there, just in case he wants to copy one of us. So, Eric, you can go first.
I was just going to go with Brent, make him feel good. But I would say it's even though it's a tough away match, 2-1 win for Inter.
Yeah, Mara, what do you think?
I think 2-0 win for Inter.
Yeah, I'm actually in favor of Inter Milan as well, winning, as I indicated before. Maybe 2-0 or 2-1. Brent, all of us are saying Inter. I'm sure you're going to be sticking with that.
Of course not. It's my birthday. Why would I stick with that?
You can do what you please, Brent.
Yeah, of course. I'm going to go with a 1-1 tie.
Oh, which means that Inter will go through on aggregate.
Yeah, that's what it means, of course, yeah.
Always taking it the hard way. All right, fine. You know what? Let's go to a break. When we return, our attention will go to our feature match on SportsMax 2. It's another good one. PSV against Borussia Dortmund. Stay with us. This Dutch versus German tie played out true to form as it was expected to be close. And I tell you what, that first leg was really close. Here's a recap.
Marlon trunked around the outside and it's there! Wow. Daniel Marlon, the former PSV player, has given his current club the lead. It's a lovely slide rule pass. Tillman, oh, dreadful first touch. Although, not too bad because he's won a penalty. De Jong just squeezes it through. Crucial goal in this tie. And unsurprisingly, it's Luke De Jong who scores it. His 28th goal of the season. Now Dest. Oh, lovely bit of skill. Dest. And all over in Eindhoven. And the tie finally poised.
Yeah, welcome back. Still with Eric, Mariah and Brent, and joining us now via Zoom. Ben Davies, a former Manchester United youth player who was technical director at the British Virgin Islands FA. Welcome to the show, Ben. And I'm going to ask you to jump straight into the action here because Borussia Dortmund, of course, at home, they'll be playing in front of the yellow wall as it's being described. Is that going to be the difference maker here today?
Well, obviously, it's a great advantage, isn't it, to be playing at home in front of your home crowd. And obviously, the first game was very tight. Could have gone either way. But I think this game, I think Dortmund really will probably just have the edge with the crowd being the 12th man sucking that ball into the net.
One of the players that stood out for me, of course, Daniel Malin, Dutchman himself, is going to be playing against his old club, Eric. And I'm bringing you into the conversation for obvious reasons. But he did perform well in that first leg, didn't he? And you don't suspect that even though he's going to be playing his old club, that it will be on his mind again.
Yeah, I mean, he had it in the first match that he played against them in PSV Stadium in Eindhoven and then scoring against them. So I think he went through that last week, and this week he will probably think about it a lot less because he went through that already. But he's a top striker, you know. He's a young player. We're very excited in Netherlands to have him as a future striker for the national team. And here we saw it. I mean, keeper have to maybe do better, but that is a bullet by the near post, and that is quality there. So yeah. We hope that he doesn't do too well against the Dutch team, but he's a quality player.
Brent, what do you see in this youngster, Malin?
He's direct, he's purposeful, he has an end product. You know, he's one of those players that certainly suits the style and the way Dortmund wants to play, and of course, they're wide in the three players. And it's really a good player that continues to develop. I'll be very surprised, Don, if he stays with Dortmund into next season. His name is ringing bells all over Europe, and that tells you the kind of form that he's in, and he continues to show game in, game out. I think if Dortmund is to have a deep run in this competition, it will be on his back, and I certainly think that he has the quality to win this particular game here this afternoon.
Yeah, a player who's been back and forth and back again is Jadon Sancho. I guess one would say that he's back home, but that is a conversation to be had at another time. But Beric, I want your thoughts on this because yes, he scored recently. It's obviously too early to say that he's back into form because he's had a checkered season at best. You describe it.
I think it was his first goal.
Yeah, it was his first goal
Dortmund.
Back.
Yeah, so I think it's almost in line with how Dortmund somewhat has performing. It's still inconsistent, you know. So we see moments of quality there. But as I said, just like Dortmund in the league, I think they're over 20 points behind. But then you saw them in the Champions League in a group with PSG, AC Milan, and Newcastle, and they topped that group. So they've been up and down, and I think a player like Jadon Sancho is somewhat along with that. And if they find that more stability and consistency, we're going to see the Dortmund that might can go far in a competition like this.
Ben, I'd like your thoughts on this because, you know, I hear all the time that, you know, players want to be loved, and Jadon Sancho is a player apparently that wants to be loved. And, you know, be told that he is important. Borussia Dortmund is his home, really, the club that really nurtured him. and we all know of his struggles with Erik ten Hag and Manchester United, but now him back on loan at Borussia Dortmund. How should he be treated for him to, produce the best version?
Well, I think they've taken him back with open arms, haven't they? Otherwise, they wouldn't have taken him on loan. And I really hope that he does well because I've always rated him. He's got great technical ability, and I think he can really do a job. I'm really hoping actually that he can go back to Manchester United, and all things can be forgiven, and he can get back on the form which persuaded Manchester United to buy him in the first place. But I really, really looking forward to him getting back to that form that he showed at Dortmund,
Have we moved from the era of tough love, Ben? I'd like to know your thoughts based on the fact that you interact with players a lot.
I think, there's a little bit of tough love still going around, obviously, but, it's slowly, I think it's changing, slowly, and probably for the better, as far as I'm concerned, So we'll just have to see how it pans out.
Yeah, we will see, and maybe it'll just have an impact today. Mariah Ramarak is with us in studio. She has so many more facts to share with us. Mariah, what's happening?
All right, so we're continuing with the numbers, this time surrounding Dortmund, who have progressed from all 5 knockout stage ties once they win the first leg. Dortmund are unbeaten in their last 8 Champions League home games with 4 wins and 4 draws. Their last defeat was in their last match against Dutch opponents. That's a 3-1 against Ajax. Now, PSV, they're winless in their last 16 away games against German sides in all competitions. That's 3 draws and 13 losses. What's more concerning is they've been eliminated on each of the previous 3 occasions. They've failed to win the first leg of such a tie at home. So the question, Donald, will the home and away form hold true for these 2 teams?
Yeah, it's another tough one, and this is actually more difficult to call, I think, Eric. Borussia Dortmund, they're playing at home, and there's a dynamic there that I think could actually push them over the line. Never underestimate that massive stadium that they play in.
And the crowd support.
And that massive crowd support as well. You're right, Mariah. Eric, do you think that is the difference maker here psychologically as well?
Oh, I think if they would play on neutral terrain, that the odds would be 50-50. But I definitely would say it's in Dortmund's favor because of the home advantage. And even the somewhat lack of experience with the PSV players at this stage in an away match in that atmosphere. So I'll give Dortmund the edge. But I think PSV is having a better form and a better season when you look at just the team performance so far.
Their manager said that PSV actually controlled the first leg because they dominate in terms of possession, Eric. Do you think that they should have won it?
It's hard to say when they got a cheap penalty to really get the only goal of the game, but I do think, especially in the second half, they were the more in control of the game. I think they lacked a little bit of quality in the service in the final third to really convert and say we should have won. But I do think they were the team, especially in the second half, that was more in control of the game.
So Brent, they're running away with the Eredivisie. They've scored 80 goals in 25 matches now, and they are unbeaten in the league. Does that hold a lot of weight when you try to match up with this Borussia Dortmund team?
I think it does have its merit, but what Eric said is correct. My concern with PSV is that inexperience. I just feel that going into the second leg in an environment like Dortmund Stadium, which could be quite raucous when it gets going, could be a bit of a challenge. And when you have players that are not accustomed to playing in that sort of environment, what's at stake, and and of course, those sorts of conditions that comes with Champions League football, I think that's where you start seeing teams separated. The tie was very, very close in the first leg, so expect this leg as well to be quite close as well. But I just feel that Dortmund playing at home, that might just about give them the edge in this one.
Yeah, they've actually won their last 3 domestic games in the Eredivisie, 13-2 on aggregate, Ben. So as far as fortitude is concerned, they know how to play away with confidence too.
Yeah, they are very confident, and you know, as been said before, both teams had chances in the first game, but I think obviously PSV had the lion's share. But as you know, has been said, you're playing at Dortmund. It's going to be a tough game, really tough game. So I think obviously, you know, the guys are itching towards Dortmund winning. I think so. Hey, Brent.
I give predictions last on my birthday, Ben. So
happy birthday, by the way, pal.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to take another break here. When we return, we're going to take a closer look at the starting lineups of both these teams, and of course, we'll be a few minutes away from kickoff. So stay with us. A couple of big matches to look ahead to on the SportsMax app and here on SportsMax 2. But for now, we'll take another commercial break. So we're standing by to join our feed as we prepare for Borussia Dortmund against PSV Eindhoven here on SportsMax 2 and, of course, on the app. A really good match expected there as well between Atletico Madrid and Inter Milan. But let's take a look at the starting lineup for Borussia Dortmund. And one of the interesting things that I've noted here, Eric, is that Emre Can is a part of that back four for Borussia Dortmund. And I'd like to know your thinking there in terms of, obviously there's a shortage.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the ideal lineup. You know, you have Schlotterbeck, who's not on the bench, as you see, who's out on a suspension, who I think has played the most minutes out of everybody on Dortmund's side. So that will be a big miss in the back line. Here we have Hummels and Süle as a starting centre-back. I think the last time they played together was about 2 or 3 months ago. So they're Emre Can, who we know as a midfielder that can really hold that defensive midfield position as a right back. So there are some new dynamics that come into this lineup because of Schlotterbeck, who's out. But this is still a team full of players with experience and knowledge, knowing that this team can do the job.
Ben, chime in here in terms of this formation. Of course, Sancho starts, Malen starts, no surprises there, and Brandt in that number 10 role. But what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, and as Eric said, you know, experience, obviously, Sabitzer, who was at United last season, Emre Can, who was at Liverpool, you know, great professional. You've also got full crew up front, you know, who can weigh in with some goals. And then we're really looking forward to Jadon, you know, turning it on and impressing us again and try and get back some of that great form that he showed before. So we'll see, eh?
Brent, in regards to your namesake, though, is it a matter of him expressing himself as well when he's on the pitch? Because him being on the left and Malen on the right, they are the creators in chief.
Yeah, he certainly is. And I think, you know, a lot of what he needs to do is confidence. He really has to believe in himself. I think that has been a part of his challenge that he's had at Manchester United. And of course, now trying to get things started back at Dortmund. And he has to be positive. He has to play in the front foot and take things out. I think the first 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, is very, very important for him and what he does. And of course, trying to be positive and trying to play in that front foot.
Brent, for the record here, I just want to know, are you related to Jadon Sancho?
Very much so. Very much so. I do have most of my family is Guyanese, despite the fact that I'm born in Trinidad, but at least 80% of the Sanchos are from Guyana.
Yeah, so what does that mean? They're all related, Brent, on the tree of life. So what's the relation like?
He's for your investigative journalistic skills, we are cousins. My dad.
you know, it's right. I'm looking at the starting lineup again for Borussia Dortmund, and I'm keen to know their playing style and what you anticipate from them with the lineup that they've shown.
I mean, defensively, I think as we look at the back line, they don't have the speed and the youth and enthusiasm. So I don't think they were playing too much high up. We're leaving a lot of space behind them. And then with fast, energetic players like a Malo, who's direct, like a Julian Brandt, who could be quick in transition, with a Sancho out wide, I do expect them in transition to be very direct and trying to create something on those moments.
Well, let's take a look at the PSV starting lineup as well. They'll be going with a 4-3-3 formation. Of course, Luke de Jong will be one of those players up top. Obviously, the captain with a lot of responsibility on his shoulders, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, Joey Veerman, who we see here, who's just coming back, who's been maybe one of their best players throughout the season. They're very happy to have him at the starting lineup. Important to control the midfield. And then we see Till, another youthful player, number 20, who's going to be close around Luke de Jong, really as that second striker there. But a lot have to come from Tillman and Bakayoko out wide. With a player like Luke de Jong, he really depends on the service. He's not going to create much on his own, but he needs a service from players out wide, as I said, Tillman and Bakayoko, or even the wing-backs, Serginho Dest and Teze.
The wingers are going to be really important in this, Ben. You agree?
Exactly. I mean, Dest, the American boy, he shows a lot of energy on that left-hand side. And remember from the last game, he was always getting up, always providing crosses, always helping out, you know, his attacking players. And of course, he can defend a bit as well, and he can dig in and kick as well. So it's very important to play down the flanks, obviously.
Based on this, you expect an open game, Brent? From PSV standpoint, would they be open to that?
I think that's the conundrum. That's the real question, how they're going to approach this, because it was quite tight in the first leg. Of course, as we've mentioned throughout this broadcast about Dortmund playing at home, you would think that Dortmund would be the protagonist and be the ones on the front foot, but PSV certainly has the capability to play on the counter, and they're very good at transition football. So I think this one is so too close to call, because you just don't know how PSV is going to approach this one. We do know Dortmund will play in the front foot, but how would PSV react? And I think that's the question.
You know, I don't want to be too harsh, but I remember we spoke about the type of games that we expect from the quote-unquote lesser teams remaining in the competition. And we anticipated, and no disrespect with the heritage of Napoli and Barcelona, that it would have been a pretty open game based on the fact that they aren't in the top tier in Europe for this season. Is it something similar we anticipate here today?
I expect that PSV, even though they're away, they will try to control the match a little bit more than leaving it in that fast, open play. And I think Dortmund, knowing that how fast they can be on the counter with a direct play, they don't maybe not mind too much to PSV at some point having that possession. So I don't expect it to be as open as that we maybe saw yesterday in the Barcelona match. But at some point, Dortmund has to give something at home for the fans, and will probably go up a little more, and PSV doesn't mind trying to find that space when Dortmund plays higher up. So it could turn into a more open match, but I don't expect it to be like that from the start.
So who's winning?
I'm saying PSV on this one.
You're saying PSV because of the bias in
maybe
everything,
there's some
right?
hope involved, but as I said, they're unbeaten in the league. We've seen them play. I mean, they really have taught football in the Eredivisie this year. And I like to believe that they know what they're doing, and the nerves won't get the better of them.
You'd like to believe that. Ben, what are your thoughts on the predictions? Who are you going with?
Yeah, well, obviously I'm going for Dortmund because of the home advantage and the fact that, you know, they're on a bit of a zip, you know, and I think PSV are going to be very cagey and very careful about, you know, opening up, you know, to try and get that next goal. So I take Dortmund 2-1.
Mariah, what are your thoughts on the matter here?
I can't bet against them. Dortmund for me.
Dortmund for you?
Yes.
Brent Sancho, the birthday boy. What are your thoughts in terms of who's winning this one?
Quite straightforward one, Donald. It's going to be a draw. 1-1.
Who is going through, Brent?
I think Dortmund will go through, but I do think it's going to draw. The eventual game will draw.
He's trying to play it safe, and he has been playing it safe, and I can't blame him, right? But it's now time to join our feed at the Signal Iduna Park, that massive stadium. It's going to be quite an atmosphere, and it's going to be a good game, I think, I hope, for all of us here. PSV traveling to Borussia Dortmund in a few minutes' time. Stay with us.